On 14 October 1066, one battle decided the future of England: Hastings. King Edward the Confessor is dead, and the throne becomes a prize claimed by powerful rivals. Across the Channel, William of Normandy prepares to fight for what he believes is his right. Harold Godwinson is crowned, but William and Harold Hardrada also press claims by promise and power. In late September 1066, William lands in England with an army built for conquest. The Normans land on the southern coast, establish a base, and force Harold to respond fast. Harold has already fought in the north. Now he must rush south to meet William, exhausted but determined. His army makes a brutal march, one of the key pressures shaping what happens on 14 October. Harold takes position on high ground, Senlac Hill, forming a defensive wall of shields.
Harold chooses the hill. High ground turns a smaller force into a harder target.
The battle begins on 14 October 1066, hours of pressure that decide a kingdom.
The English defense is simple and brutal. Hold the line. A wall of shields and bodies.
William's force is combined arms, archers, infantry, and cavalry, designed to break a fixed position.
The attack begins with arrows, testing the shield wall and searching for weakness. Most arrows strike shields or fall short. The slope and the tight formation protect the English at first.
The shield wall does what it was built to do: absorb shock, deny gaps, refuse panic.
Then infantry closes in. On a slope, every step costs energy, and every pause invites death. The fight becomes a grind: push, stab, pull back, measured in feet, not miles. William's cavalry is his advantage, if it can find space to charge and exploit a break.
Charging uphill into a tight shield wall is not easy. Terrain and discipline blunt the horseman's power.
Behind the shields are heavy weapons, axes capable of damaging shields, cutting legs, and stopping momentum.
At points, the Norman line buckles. In medieval battle, a moment of retreat can become disaster.
A deadly rumor spreads that William has fallen. If true, the invasion could collapse in minutes.
William rides to the front, showing he's alive, forcing the panic to stop. Leadership matters in moments like this.
The Normans recover. The battle resets, again and again, each time wearing down the defenders.
One tactic becomes decisive: retreats that draw parts of the English line out of position.
When defenders pursue, the shield wall weakens. That single mistake can undo hours of discipline.
The Normans counterattack. The pursuers are cut off, and the hill line becomes thinner.
Hastings is not a quick victory. It is endurance, pressure applied until the line finally gives. As the day wears on, the Normans adapt, seeking angles that the shield wall cannot fully deny.
Later volleys are fired higher, an attempt to drop arrows behind the shield line.
Even a strong formation has exposed points, gaps in shields, tired arms, and men forced to look up. Fatigue is a weapon. Holding a shield for hours turns strength into shaking. Assault after assault continues. The Normans don't need a miracle, only a moment of weakness.
By afternoon, discipline is harder to maintain. Small gaps start to matter.
A gap invites a surge. In medieval battle, geometry can decide fate.
William coordinates pressure, using cavalry as a hammer, where infantry has pried the door open.
Harold remains near the center of the line, where morale and command must hold together. Harold is killed late in the battle. The exact details are debated, but the effect is clear. The English center begins to fail. Whether by arrow, blade, or chaos, Harold's death removes the anchor of the shield wall.
Once the line breaks, the hill becomes a trap. Retreat turns into pursuit.
By day's end, William holds the field. England's leadership has been shattered.
After the noise, the land goes quiet. Hastings leaves England without its king and without certainty. Hastings is not the end, it's the door opening. The Norman Conquest follows.
With Harold dead, William moves toward London, translating battlefield victory into political control.
On Christmas Day, 1066, William is crowned king, marking a turning point in English history. The conquest reshapes England, its elite, its culture, its law, and its language for generations.
Victory has a cost. The Norman army must still survive, organize, and turn success into rule. For the English, the defeat is not only military, it is political collapse and a scramble for what comes next.
With Harold dead, England's leadership fractures. Who can speak for the kingdom now? In London, leaders debate resistance and negotiation. Their choices will determine whether the conquest hardens or softens. William must do two things at once: intimidate opponents and appear as rightful king, not just a conqueror. One of the most visible changes is fortification. Norman castles appear as tools of control and defense. To many English communities, castles are a shock, new silhouettes of authority rising in timber and earth. Conquest is not only crowns. It reshapes landholding, loyalty networks, and who gets to rule locally. A new regime depends on oaths, records, and administration, binding people to authority through obligation. Over time, Norman French influences the ruling class, while English persists among the people, shaping what English becomes. Much of what we visualize comes from later sources and art, including narrative embroidery traditions that shaped memory of the battle. Our knowledge comes from medieval chronicles, later traditions, and the landscape itself, each with limitations. The ground still exists. The slope still explains why the shield wall held as long as it did.
Because it rewired England's leadership and connected the kingdom more tightly to continental Europe.
Hastings is explained by three pressures: the hill, Norman tactics, and the exhaustion of Harold's march. The shield wall was formidable, but it depended on unity. Once parts broke formation, the battle shifted fast. Norman cavalry did not win by one perfect charge. It won by exploiting openings created over hours. Archery helped maintain pressure. Even when it didn't kill, it forced shields up and eyes away from the slope.
Hastings lasted a day. Its consequences lasted centuries.
To finish, we look at what England became after 1066 and why the battle is remembered as a turning point. After Hastings, England enters a new order, politically, culturally, and administratively. William rewards followers with land. A new elite takes root, tied to Normandy and to the king's authority. Conquest reorganizes power through landholding. Control becomes structural, not just personal. Rule becomes paperwork, records, oaths, and systems that allow authority to travel farther than the king can. Castles change the landscape. They are military tools, administrative hubs, and symbols of who commands the region. For locals, the new fort is a constant reminder. Authority is now permanent, watching and armed. 2 decades later, the Domesday book records lands and obligations, evidence of a conquest turned into an administrative machine. When historians look for the conquest's footprint, they find it in records as much as ruins. Hastings is remembered because it was a hinge, where one day's outcome redirected centuries of English life. And it began on a windy hill on 14 October 1066.